Welcome to this quick start video for the Kelverion Runbook Suite test drive. The Runbook Suite test drive includes the Kelverion Runbook Studio, the Kelverion Automation Portal, a couple of Kelverion integration modules, and it's all ready to evaluate within the Kelverion Azure subscription. So what does this video show you? So the video is going to show you how to configure the connections to the test drive and the Azure Automation account. It's going to show you how to apply the evaluation licenses, create smart connections, and create your first runbook. Okay, so let's configure our test drive for its first use. So the first thing you're going to notice once you RDP to the machine is the certificate warning. That's fine to click OK, and then you're going to log into the machine. You will notice the first time you log into the machine that it takes a few moments as it prepares your profile. The machine's never been logged into before, so it needs to go through setting up the profile and the usual things that you see when a server first starts up. So we're going to see a message about network discovery. We're going to just click no to that, and we're also going to get a pop-up for server manager, which we're going to close. Okay, so there's server manager. So I'm just going to close that down. We're now ready to start the Runbook Studio up. So if you click on the Start menu, you'll see that there's a link to the Runbook Studio. We're going to click on that. The Runbook Studio will take a few moments to start up. The first time when it initializes, it goes through and it sets up its internal databases. We'll see the splash screen for a few moments before the product opens up fully. So we can just see the splash screen at the moment, and okay, as the splash screen goes, the Runbook Studio opens. The first time you open the Runbook Studio, you'll notice the message about the license information. So if we click on the Add License button, it will give us a file browser. If you browse to the C drive and then open the folder __ test drive, it should right be at the top of the list, and we're looking for the Runbook Studio eval.kasl file. Okay, the license, after you hit OK, it's going to take a moment to validate that, and then we'll see that the license should update to show evaluation and the expiry date and time for that. Obviously the evaluation license has got a while on it. The test drive for the Runbook Studio is about 4 hours long though. So we're now going to add some licenses for the integration modules as well. So again, we hit the add license, and this time we're looking for, in the same folder, module evaluation.kaml, and we should see there are a couple of evaluation licenses in there. So once those are selected, we hit OK, and our evaluation licenses are applied. I'm just going to maximize the Runbook Studio now. And so we're going to go to the File menu, and we're going to configure the connection to the Azure Active Directory tenant. So you can see at the moment there's no tenant active. We hit Manage Tenants and create a new one. We're going to enter the name as the Kelverion Test Drive. And for the Azure Active Directory ID, that's the GUID, the tenant ID for Active Directory. If we go into File Explorer, and if we again go to C test drive folder, we're going to see within that test drive folder there's a file called configinfo.txt, and that contains all of the important information that you need to configure the test drive. So that first line there contains the Active Directory tenant ID. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that into the connection properties in a moment. You can see also usernames and passwords. Everything you need should be in that file for you. So we're going to paste in the Azure Active Directory ID. We'll hit OK and OK again. And it's very important now that you select the active tenant. So you should see that in that drop down the name that you just created. Okay, whilst we're in the File menu, we're going to create a smart connection. This smart connection is used at runtime for discovery of data. And we're going to hook that up to a SQL database which has been configured as part of your test drive. So we're going to enter the name as automation data. We're going to tab back to our configinfo.txt, and we are going to copy and paste in the SQL Server FQDN into the server name field. We're also going to paste in the username, local admin, into the username field, and finally we are going to paste in the password. Okay, so copied from the file and pasted in to the password field, and we are going to hit OK, and that's our smart connection configured now. Okay, so now we've configured those properties, we're able to sign into Azure for the first time. Again, in configinfo.txt, we've got our Azure username, and we've also got the Azure password. So back to the Runbook Studio, hit sign in. After a moment, you will see what probably is a familiar dialog box. It's the Microsoft sign in dialog box for your account. So I'm pasting in the username, just hit next. Okay, just grab the password, so we're ready to go. Okay, got that, and gonna hit next and paste in the password and hit sign in. Now you'll see down at the bottom, just above the toolbar there, the status has changed. It shows that you're now connected to the test drive. And if we switch to the Azure properties, we can see that's now showing as online. And when we switch, we can see our subscription and our automation account and the properties that contains. So it's important at this point that we select our active subscription, and we also select our active automation account. Those become the defaults for many of the dialogues now. You can use the Runbook Studio to manage multiple subscriptions and many automation accounts within there, but you have one active subscription and one active automation account at any one time. So our final piece of setup, we are going to update the license keys. So we added the license keys into the Runbook Studio. We're now going to tell Azure Automation to update those as well. So we right click on the connections and update the license keys, and then we can see the dialog box pops up to confirm that those have been updated. Okay, so that's the Runbook Studio configured. We're now going to configure the licensing in the Kelverion Automation portal. We're going to create a quick request in the automation portal, and then we're going to make use of that in our runbook. So I'm just grabbing the username and password for SQL, started Internet Explorer, and you'll see the default is that it connects to the loopback address. Now it takes a few moments for the Internet Explorer to start up the first time as it goes through all of its setting up of defaults. One thing I do notice from time to time is that the login dialog box there ends up behind the active window, so we just alt tab there to go through and just cycle around to make sure that isn't hidden at the back. And we're pasting in the username and password. So in a moment, yeah, there we go. So we're just going to use the recommended defaults, and that will pop up a welcome page which we are going to close down, and we are going to click turn on protected mode to the dialog box down at the bottom. So you'll notice that there is no license applied to the automation portal to start off with. So on the tool menu we go to settings, and after a moment we'll see the page update where we can add a new license. You can see it's invalid at the moment, so we hit the upload button there, we browse, and you guessed it, C __ test drive contains our file. So I'm just browsing to that location, and the file that we're looking for this time is the Kelverion Automation Portal.cal file. Okay, so we've selected the file, hit open and then import, and after a moment the license will be validated, and we can see that the license status is updated now to valid. Okay, and we've got a date and time against there. So if we just scroll back up to the top of the page now, we're going to go into see the service it's configured. I clicked on the Kelverion logo there. You could equally use a services menu. That takes us to the home page, and you can see that there's just a single service configured at the moment, and within that service there's a couple of offerings. So we're going to use test drive offering number 1. It's going to prompt us for some information that we're going to use in our runbook request that we're going to process. So I'm going to enter a fictitious first name, last name. So John Smith. I don't have much imagination. Okay, and John Smith's favourite colour is red. You can see we've got a date, time, sort of date and time fields to populate as well. Just trying to show you some of the flexibility in the portal here, and of course I like automation, so I'm selecting that from the tick box. Okay, so I've submitted the request. This is going to form a part of our automation later. It's a request for a new user to be created. We can see the request has been created. It's in a new state at the moment. We've got some date and times in there. We've got an ID for that request. If we go to the requests view, we can see the requests that I have made. There are a couple of other requests that have been entered into the database already. There's nothing waiting for approval. The important thing to note is if we go back to my request is we're just going to make a note that the ID of that request is 10. We're going to make use of that within our first runbook. So back to the Runbook Studio. We've got an untitled runbook open in the Runbook Studio, and I'm going to give that a better name, so I'm going to call that My First Runbook. If we switch to the toolbox view, it shows us all of the commandlets that are available on the system, and I am going to use the search there to search for the word Kelverion to show the two Kelverion integration modules which are installed. I'm dragging and dropping a SQL select rows activity in, and we can see that activity, it's got a little exclamation mark there showing that we need to do some configuration. So first of all, we're going to make use of discovery. It's going to connect to the SQL server that we configured in the smart connections. It shows us all of the databases that are available on that SQL server, and we are going to use the automation portal database. Once it's identified the database, we can see it gives us a list of all of the tables that we want going to interact with, and we're going to select information from the requests table, DBO requests. So we're going to add a filter, so we just want to pull back a single record for a nice easy example runbook, and we're going to use the ID column. We see all of the columns that exist within that table are there, and we're going to use the value 10 as the request that we've just created. Finally, in the properties, we're going to configure the runtime connection. Now, the runtime connection and design time connections can be different. In this case, they're not. It's the same database, and we're going to use automation data again. So as we're logged in now, and you can see, sorry, just confirming there that we're using the connection that exists within Azure, the runtime connection. So we can see that we've just got one runbook on the automation account at the moment, test runbook 1. And we can see some of those other assets that exist within Azure Automation. So using the toolbar, I'm going to upload this runbook, and we'll see that the list of runbooks updates. We can see that the previous runbook was published with the green tick. Our new runbook has got a little yellow star next to it to show that it's new. If we right click on there, there's a context menu which gives us a variety of actions, and we're going to test the draft copy of that runbook. That's the same as the test function on the toolbar up at the top there. So when I hit the test draft button, a dialog appears. It gives us the opportunity to choose where that runbook is executed. So we are going to execute on Azure. If the account had hybrid workers, you would be able to target them, but we don't have hybrid workers configured. There's no need for these examples. We can see after we hit start, it goes to a submitted state. The runbook's then running, and after a moment it completes, and we can see the data that's been output. So if I just expand that screen out to change the formatting slightly, we can see within the data portion, nicely XML formatted data, the request. We can see John Smith, his favorite color red, the date and time that was selected. We can also see the created and updated timestamps on the field and the state. If we just tab back to the portal, we can see the same details that are there. So that has taken you through creating your very first runbook. Examples, we've got everything configured to allow you to do what you need to do within the test drive, and the next step is for you to use the self-paced examples within the tutorial. You should have received a link with the test drive information. If you've got any questions about the Runbook suite or need more information about the test drive, then please contact us at www.kelverion.com.